We are facing the rise of Islamo-Nazism rising all around the world. We are heading straight into a wall with the clash between Western civilization and a 7th century ideology driven by hate.
The truth is, Islam really isn't a religion, then, is it? It's a political system for world domination.
Most people are not at all aware of the stealth jihad agenda to eliminate and destroy Western civilization from within and sabotage its miserable house so that Allah's religion, Islam, reigns victorious over other religions.
We are at war with all these fanatics, and we should invade their countries, kill their leaders, and convert them to Christianity.
Because they're violent, because they threaten us, and they are threatening. They bring that desert stuff to our world.
Robert, why don't we tell them to go back to the Middle East where they came from? Why don't we allow this to happen?
If a Muslim man is insulted by the woman, she commits adultery, she divorces, whatever, he has the right to kill her.
When I get on a plane, I got to tell you, if I see people who are in Muslim garb, and I think, you know, they're identifying themselves first and foremost as Muslims, I get worried, I get nervous.
Would you be comfortable with the Muslim in your cabinet? And I said, no, I would not be comfortable.
But of course, Christians are prepared to coexist peacefully with anyone, but Islamic traditional doctrine, traditional Islamic law, does not allow for peaceful coexistence between believers and unbelievers.
So just to be precise, is it ethnic profiling, religious profiling? Who would be profiled?
Obviously, Muslims would be someone you'd look at.
Islam really wants to submit, wants to dominate our societies, doesn't want to be part of our society like Christianity or Judaism.
Stop Islamic immigration. That they are only coming to this country to take over, to try to enforce their laws, their Islamic laws upon us.
Never will I apologize for saying that Sharia law does not belong in the courts of the United States of America.
The Sharia law.
Sharia law.
That's Sharia. Sharia law.
Sharia law.
Sharia.
Sharia law.
Sharia law.
Sharia. Sharia law. Sharia.
Sharia. Sharia law.
Sharia law.
You cannot stop the Islam at this time. It's gonna be too late. That's why I'm saying to you now. I'm saying to you, wake up, America!
Now on to the top story, reaction. Joining us from Chicago, Ahmed Rehab, who's the head of the Chicago chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations.
What I look at is a track record. I don't look at sound bites. I look at a track record. But the problem, the people that we oppose, the biggest, the people that we call Islamophobes, they don't have 1 or 2 or 3 sentences. They have essentially a lifetime, a career of Islamophobic behavior.
Who are you talking about specifically?
Well, I'm talking about specifically Pamela Gellar, specifically Robert Spencer, the 2 founders of the Stop the Islamization of America Orwellian organization that was just started and that is spearheading to a large degree the opposition to Part 51. Pam also suggested that we should nuke Mecca, and this was done on her blog on February 24th, 2010. You can go there and see it. She also suggested that Obama is an anti-Semite, a pimp, and a jihadist.
I believe
she put a picture of him urinating on the flag. She is a certified loon. You know, she's a bigot of the highest order, and you're calling her your good friend, Eric. So I don't know how you feel about that now.
Mr. Rehab.
We shouldn't forget about 9/11. We should move beyond the politicization and the exploitation of the memory of 9/11 for personal political gain or for ratings or for notoriety, like your certified bigot friend there, Pamela Gellar, is doing. And that's exactly what we're anti.
This pastor is not exactly an example of honesty and integrity. He's a radical, he's an extremist, and my take on him is that, you know, every faith unfortunately has its bad apples. We have them in the Muslim faith, in the Christian faith you have wackos and kooks as well, and he's one of them.
A large burn mark remains on the north wall of Temple Sholem. Police say it was 2 o'clock in the morning when someone threw a Molotov cocktail at the building. It landed right below the kindergarten class window in a fenced-in playground area. And while it caused a small fire, it was put out quickly and did not spread inside the synagogue. The Council on American Islamic Relations, known as CAIR, has reached out to Temple Sholem to offer support.
We had a nice long talk about how we need to band together to condemn these acts, these hate crimes, and make sure they don't happen again and not let it affect our community.
Was that your intent to get him fired from NPR?
No. Our intent was to engage with our own freedom of speech, to express how we feel about his statements. And a lot of the defenders of freedom of speech, quote unquote, like Mr. May here, unfortunately they approach freedom of speech in a one-way street. It's a two-way street. He does have every right to express his emotions and his feelings, which is what he did. We have every right to respond, which is what we did. The outcome was left in the hands of NPR and NPR alone. We did not tell them what to do. We have no power to tell them what to do. All we can do is express our own feelings, which is exactly what we did.
Will you not agree that within the Muslim world, within the Islamic community, there is a problem with terrorism, with militancy, and with extremism, as expressed, yes, by al-Qaeda, also the Taliban, also al-Shabaab, also Hezbollah, also Hamas, and I could name 10 other organizations like that.
Right. Look, yes, I agree that these are problems. And you know who else agrees? The great majority of Muslims.
Absolutely
the exact same
right.
People that Mr. Williams is afraid to sit next to on a plane. And that's the problem. He is unable or unwilling to distinguish between the problem and the solution.
But the stats don't back up Mr. Quigley's assertion that there is an institutional bias against Muslim Americans. There's simply no statistics, none, that demonstrate that. Am I wrong?
You're wrong in several ways. First of all, I think one would have to be living under a rock, with all due respect, not to notice the uptick that we're seeing in this country in terms of both Islamophobic remarks from people in power, not just people on the street, but people who are elected to represent Americans in government.
You want to cite an example?
Well, yeah. I mean, one example is pretty much everything that comes out of the mouth of Representative Allen West. And when your producer called me to be on the show, I was rather surprised that it was to react to someone, you know, expressing sympathy against Islamophobia rather than to talk about the crazy, cookish stuff another representative says day in, day out about Muslims. And we have an issue, and we need to deal with this issue, one that is called Islamophobia.
And that's why we have you on a program, that people can make up their own mind, and we don't want anybody to be anti-Muslim.
It's the move that's put a home improvement giant on the hot seat. Lowe's pulled its ads from a reality show about American Muslims. But what's followed is a racially charged controversy.
We were really disappointed and stunned that Lowe's, a major corporation, would take such a stupid decision to side with bigotry against communities.
Ahmed Rehab with the Council on American Islamic Relations calls the conservative group's allegations a step in the wrong direction and an insult to the Muslim community.
To marginalize and dehumanize American Muslims through the notion that the only form of portrayal that is acceptable would be for Muslims to come out as terrorists.
Rehab is calling for consumers to boycott Lowe's. In a statement, the store defended its decision, saying in part the show has become a lightning rod for people to voice complaints. We have a strong commitment to diversity and inclusion. If we've made anyone question that commitment, we apologize. But for Rehab, that's simply not enough.
It's a faith that preaches peace, coexistence, justice, tolerance, love, compassion. That's what we stand for.